Welcome to the Strong for Life podcast. I'm your host, Conor O'Shea, and I really appreciate you tuning in. If you are enjoying these episodes, I'd really appreciate you taking a moment and rating it 5 stars on Spotify or on Apple or whatever podcast platform you use. This is going to allow more people to find this information. Without further ado, let's jump into today's show. Okay, folks. So this week, myself and Brad are back. This is my second podcast today in Mobility Mastery. But we're going to talk about meal prepping, and really from a point of view of body composition, fat loss, overall energy, performance, all these things, and just making easier and better food decisions. It's really going to come down to actually having the food available to you. Okay, so we've all probably been in that situation. You come home, you're tired, there's nothing there, so you get a takeaway. All right, and or there's just crap food around you, so you end up eating that because that's in your environment. So today we're going to talk about how we actually make it really easy for clients to prep a lot of food or have an idea and a plan around what they're actually going to cook and prep in a way that is just simple. I think that's the biggest thing. And like this works well for clients with families or kids with all this stuff as well. This is Jess. She's another one of the coaches in the program. She really kind of put this together based on her experience. So that's what we're going to jump into today. But before we jump in, how are you keeping, Brad?
I'm good, thanks, Connor. It's only my first podcast, so I feel like I'm not doing enough after your two. So
Yeah, I know,
yeah,
mate. Like people were wondering where you were this morning. I was like, he's in bed.
this
Slept,
lazy guy. Yeah,
slept it
he's,
out.
he's actually he couldn't make it. He's doing food prep. So
Yeah, exactly.
yeah.
He's getting
How are
ready
you?
for today. I'm really good, man. Yeah, it's Friday, it's sunny, so yeah, can't complain, mate. It's,
Are you
it's
going diving this weekend?
I might. The guys I dive with here, they had national competition, so they were they haven't been able to dive with them for the last few weeks. They do a lot of pool diving, so basically you hold your breath and you do lengths of the pool. So you'll
Okay.
do whatever, like they're all doing like 75 or 100 meters, which is amazing. And you just have a pair of fins on and you go under in one breath. So it's a really good way of it's kind of like it's your gym equivalent. So you do that. So then you're better in open water.
Mm.
Like you go and you do your gym work for rugby or football or whatever.
Connor is doing free diving for the listeners who don't have context for this conversation.
Yeah,
uh,
yeah, yeah.
yeah, yeah. Not
What
some
about you,
kind of
mate?
cool
You've
scuba
gone on
without a
this
tank.
weekend?
I'm actually going for a hike tomorrow with a friend I haven't seen in a good few months, so that's going to be nice. Just in the Newlands Forest in Cape Town.
Nice. I'd say it's nice nature where you are, yeah?
Yeah, very accessible, which I feel lucky to have.
Yeah, nicer than London.
Yeah, definitely easier. That's for sure.
Yeah. Cool, man. So let's jump in. I think I'm going to share my screen for people, but while I'm doing that, do you want to just kind of give an overview maybe on the food side of things? And then we'll have this up and running for people to see in Mobility Mastery, okay?
Sure. Do you mean like actually with regards to planning or just the value of food prep?
Yeah, you can just talk about the value to food prep.
Yeah. Well, it's like you said. I mean, if you have a busy job, if you have kids to take care of, or other kind of caring responsibilities, and you get home late, and you've got to put something together with whatever's in the fridge or cupboards, it's generally well, unless you only have very healthy things in your house, it's not going to be the best, most filling, most nourishing meal. It's probably not going to help you get all of your necessary protein requirements. So just being able to either plan your food through having a shopping list that you have up to date and you can whip out when you need to go shopping or when you order online, to know that you're going to have all the things you need, or to actually just prep your food by doing bulk prep on 1 or 2 days of the week, cooking sort of 3 or 4 meals at a time. It's just really going to make things a lot simpler for you in the long term. It's going to allow you to eat far more balanced, healthy meals, and yeah, you're not going to be reactive, I guess, is the point where you can actually plan everything and gain a lot of benefits from that.
Yeah, totally, man. And like even like eating at restaurants, there's nothing, obviously I love eating out. I love I love restaurant food. I just that's one thing I really miss about Melbourne. Is such a foodie city. Like the restaurant standard and quality are so high. Like I love the weather where I am now, but the food wouldn't be, you just can't get different cuisines. But basically the point is like any restaurant, the whole business model is so that you come back. So if I had a restaurant, I would be putting in extra butter and salt and everything into everything because it's tastier, or so just understand that there's always going to be extra calories in food that you eat out. So just
Yeah,
cooking at home more is just like such an easier way. But of course, making it easier for you is going to increase the likelihood of actually cooking more. So we're going to break it down, guys, just in a way that it just makes so much sense. Okay. So for people in mobility mastery, you guys can all see this live, but I'm actually going to put a downloadable link for people listening to the podcast in the about section here. So you can just click the link, download this all, and run through this with you yourself. Okay. So what we do is we actually theme the week. So Brad, do you want to go through like the kind of weekly themes and how we theme each day from a protein standpoint?
yeah. So basically, you've got each day of the week. You think of every meal you want to have a protein. It doesn't necessarily have to be an animal protein. For instance, if you're a vegetarian or vegan, you can find alternatives: lentils, beans, seitan, soya to a lesser degree. But yeah, so you plan a protein for each day, and you plan a type of cuisine or the way that you want to cook that protein. So, for instance, you might be having chicken on a Monday, and we could think, well, you could do a roast chicken, and your cuisine theme is Western or British, maybe, seeing they are the kings of the roasts. Yeah, and then for instance, you might have beef on a Tuesday, and you think, well, you could make that a Mexican style theme, and then you're having beef tacos. So it just makes everything, you know what you're shopping for, you know what you're going to get. So all the guesswork's out. You don't have surplus foods that you just like kind of, I don't know, on a whim, you grab and put in your shopping cart or whatever it may be. You've got a strategy. It's the same with training. It's the same with anything you do in business or your job or anything. It's having a plan so you don't mess around. You just get the job done.
Yeah, totally, man. And like just for if you're listening, basically we have a spreadsheet and it's Monday to Sunday, and then we have each day of the week is a different cuisine. So Brad went through like chicken or poultry on Monday, beef on Tuesday, lentils, beans on Wednesday, pork on Thursdays, fish on Fridays, vegetarian on Saturdays, and lamb on Sundays. So that's just an example. And like the examples we're giving is most people aren't going to do this to a T because it's unnecessary for a lot of people. But this is just going to give you tons of ideas and variety to keep things interesting and exciting and easy for you. And then like cuisines, you might have like Western, Mexican, French, US kind of barbecue style, Thai, Mediterranean, and yeah, like Western again for Sunday roast as an example. And then the last part of the spreadsheet, we have just a recipe block where you literally can just put in like, okay, Mexican on Tuesdays, we've got Mexican beef tacos. And then there's just a hyperlink to that actual recipe. So then you can just have this as a simple place that you just store your recipes really, really simply. Okay. Now, the biggest thing about all this to make it super, super easy on the second block in the Google Sheet, we have how to turn this into 4 months really simply. But I guess, the biggest takeaway that I want you guys to take from today's episode is how to make it super, super simple and literally buy the same ingredients every week, but change your cuisine. Okay. And this just is going to make it really streamlined because, you know, having, new recipes, and it's just one recipe has 5 ingredients, one recipe has 50 ingredients. Like it just, that's why people don't follow this stuff, because it's just too hard. So an example of, let's just say every Tuesday you have beef. Okay. And we have an example like over the next 4 weeks. On week 1, you'd have Mexican beef tacos. On week 2, you'd have Italian bolognese. On week 3, you'd have like Thai pad kapow, which is like a Thai holy basil. Um, and on week 4, you'd have Italian meatballs. Now, you can buy the exact same base ingredients. So you can buy beef mince, whatever, 500 kilos or 500 grams to a kilo, onions, garlic, red peppers. So you can literally make all of these recipes with those ingredients each week. Week 1, you're just going to use a taco spice seasoning, and then you can either use corn, flour, tortillas, or maybe iceberg lettuce to create your tacos. Week 2 is your Italian bolognese. Now you're going to use like chopped tomatoes or passata. And then from a spice standpoint, you're probably going to use like oregano or parsley, something along those lines. And then you're going to use spaghetti or pasta, or like zucchini noodles as a lower carb option. Then week 3, you've got your Thai pad kapow. So that's going to be like oyster sauce, soy sauce, chili in there as well. And then rice or cauliflower rice. Okay. And then week 4 is your meatballs, which is basically going to be the exact same as your bolognese, just with there's going to be meatballs instead of the loose bolognese meat. So you see then, like, it's literally, your shopping is essentially the same each week. You're going to buy your kind of base spices for your cuisines, and then you have them for a few months. And then all of a sudden, instead of just having the same, God, I've been having bolognese every Tuesday for the last 6 months, now you have 4 different options. Super, super simple. And again, you can do the exact same thing with chicken. So like you have Western, whatever, roast chicken on week 1, then you have Chipotle chicken on week 2, then you have like turkey burgers on week 3, and then you have maybe like fried duck on week 4. Okay, so really just, again, making it really, really simple, but giving you lots of variety. And from an ingredient standpoint, you're pretty similar each week as well, other than some spice changes. So do you want to add anything to that, Brad?
Yeah, I mean, it's just that if you are someone who doesn't get bored of eating similar meals, then you can still use this same platform or framework, but just with slightly less diversity. So this allows you to scale it as much as you need. You can be incredibly creative and varied, or if you're someone who wants to choose maybe sort of one option for each day and 2 proteins, so sort of one cuisine style for each day. So over the week you've got 7 different kinds of cuisines, but maybe 2 or 3 kinds of proteins, chicken and beef and fish, for instance. Then you can also make that work just as effectively. So yeah, it's scalable, I think, is a point to put across.
Yeah, totally, man. And then like, yeah, you can kind of, you can change the types of protein. So if you're having beef mince, you change it to lamb mince or something like that. And then if you're having like onions, garlic, red pepper, you might change. You might still have onions and garlic as your kind of base veggies, but then you might change the red pepper to something else, like a different colored pepper, or you might use broccoli or something, or zucchini or something like that as an alternative. And yeah, like Brad said, it just depends on your personality. Like I can easily eat the same thing every day, pretty much. My brother would, like, he kind of wants to eat something different at each meal. That's his personality style. Neither of us are correct or incorrect. It's just a personal preference thing. So that's an important thing to kind of lean into as well. And like, this is, following this to a T is probably unnecessary for most people, but it's going to allow you to probably get much more excitement around your food, not get bored of food, and also set it up in a way that's actually going to make it easier to batch cook as well. So I think we'll just finish up with that, Brad. Like, how, let's just say someone's like, okay, I like this idea. I'm probably not going to change the cuisine and the protein every day, but like I'm probably going to do maybe 3 times a week I'm going to utilize this. But like, how could that person maybe batch or store food? Like, what sort of recommendations would you have there?
Yeah, well, I mean, definitely you have to find a day where you can do the cooking, and that might be 1 or 2 days a week. I know for some people, the thought of cutting their weekend short on a Sunday and prepping all of their food for the week might be too much. But so if you're someone who's inclined to do that, you might say, okay, well, Sunday I'm going to cook 3 meals, or I'm gonna prepare 3 different kinds of proteins as my base, and then I can just use them as needs be. With when you cook, so you've got the protein already made, then it's a case of coming to it in the week and just adding the right uh, supplementary side, the vegetables and the additions. Or you might be someone who, say, cooks on a Monday, a Wednesday, and a Saturday, and you cook sort of a portion that's 2 or 3 meals out of that, and you either store it in the fridge, or perhaps you even could do bigger batches, freeze them, and in controlled portion sizes, and then just bring them out on the days that you need. So it's just up to you really how you're going to do it. But the idea is having a plan and having a strategy, so you don't have to react and you don't have to sort of cobble things together last minute.
Yeah, exactly. Really well said, mate. So like just the easiest kind of thing is probably if you're cooking a meal, cook enough for 2 to 3 portions of, if that's just you, if it's you and your partner, if it's you and your kids, enough for kind of 3 or 4 times as much. And then all of a sudden you can just freeze the leftovers, or maybe use some of the leftovers for lunch tomorrow. And then like Charles in the program does this really well. He's like, I've got like 3 months of food now in my freezer, because he just freezes every time he cooks. He makes more than he needs. He freezes it. And then after like 2 weeks, you've got like just tons of food there to utilize. And then, it's just kind of forecasting, like you're going to come home many evenings where you're just like you're wiped, you don't want to cook, and then you can just grab something from the freezer. You've cooked it yourself, you've prepped it yourself, you know what's in it, and it's a pretty decent meal that you can actually just get and use on the go, right?
And just to chime in on there, you also feel an amazing sense of self-accomplishment. Like you're really impressed by yourself. Your current self is really impressed by your past self when you sit down to a meal that's taken you 10 minutes or whatever to like get it out the fridge, defrost it, put it on the plate. And you're like, wow, this tastes good. I can't believe I was so clever to do this a few weeks ago. So there's that added benefit, makes it taste even nicer.
Yeah. And actually, one last thing, guys, that's really helpful as well, just from a protein prep standpoint, is a slow cooker. Slow cooker is like, when you start eating slow cooked meat from a slow cooker, you will be disappointed every time you eat meat in the future, because it's just a thousand times nicer. You go out for food and you're like, oh, this is just not as nice as slow cooked lamb or whatever. So a really easy thing is you have a slow cooker at the start of the day before you start work. And obviously it depends on you if you're okay leaving it on during the day when you're away. But if you're at home anyway, then that's going to be easy. And you just basically fill up the slow cooker with water, with salt, and put in like a leg of lamb as an example. Leave it in there for like 4 to 8 hours, depending on how tender you want it. And then it's done like at 6 p.m. perfectly. And it's the most amazing meat that you'll ever have. And there's zero prep time. Like you're literally just putting water into the slow cooker and adding the meat. You can add stock, you can add salt, but like it's just super, super, super easy as well. Okay. So I think that's just one last kind of little tip to allow you to find it easier to actually prep protein as well. All right. Is that everything?
I think so. Yeah.
Cool.
Nicely put together.
All right, man. Great to catch up. And yeah, guys, if you have any questions, if you're in Mobility Mastery, just ask them below. Or if you're listening through the podcast, you can just click the link to come into the Facebook group or shoot us an email.
And if you've got any great recipes as well, feel free to share them.
Oh, yeah. We'd love to hear your recipes as well. Yeah, that's always definitely a good idea. And yeah, again, appreciate everyone listening and hope you all have a great weekend.